Hi fellow Django developers, Hezekiah here from alwaysdjango.com, where we discuss interesting topics that help you grow, improve as a Django developer. If that sounds interesting, like, subscribe, share this video with anyone if you find this video important. Let's get into it. So today we'll be looking at user logging out process, right? In the last tutorial we looked at logging in the tutorial before that in the playlist, right? Django Absolute Beginner playlist. And the tutorial before that we looked at the user creation process. So we have used that user creation process, we have looked at login in process. Now we'll be looking at the user logout process. Not only logout, we'll be looking at template conditionals, that's writing if statements for you checking if user is authenticated on your template and stuffs like that, right? So let's get into it. So first things first, we said in the last tutorial, this is what we have here, this is our project right here. So this is the list of books in our database, right? So very soon we'll be making this a list of books that are created by the current user, right? So we said we want to have a header in this page right here. We want to have a header. Then in this header we want to write conditional statements to check if the user is logged in or not, and render different nav links for that, right? So it's interesting to know that we are using bootstrap right here. So I'll simply go and search for bootstrap nav bars, right? So this will open. I'll open this first link here. So we just choose a very simple nav bar. Let me choose one. Let me make this bigger for you. So let's choose a very simple nav bar right here. Which okay, this one looks okay right here. So I'll just come here and copy. So if I come here, so where do we paste this navbar? Where do we add this navbar? If you watch the tutorial, let me close this terminal. So if you watch maybe the last four previous tutorials, we discussed template inheritance, right? And in that template inheritance we created this helper folder. Let me close this. We created this helper folder, and in this base__base__.html, right? This is where we have our header, right? In this folder, this is where we have our header. So every other template in this application is inheriting from this base template right here. And is this base template we are adding in this header, right? This header right here, this helper folder, then __header.html, right? Which is this file right here. So we want this header to be in all the pages, right? So we are going to add that header here, right? So if I come here and paste this, right? If I paste this and go back to our application, if I reload, we have what was that? Okay, we have this header here, right? We have this header, this bootstrap header right here. So what do we want to do right now? We want to make sure that maybe in this navbar, if a user is authenticated, you have create book, list of books and stuff like that, right? Then we have logout, right? Then if a user is not authenticated, we have something like login, sign up, etc, right? So if we go back to our template, let's remove this one, let's remove everything, let's remove mostly everything, then let's just leave one for, okay, let's just leave this, but this is disabled, so we remove this disabled here, right? So to check if a user is authenticated, in your template, in your Django templates, right? You say, write your if statement. You say if, right? Then let's end the if right here. Let's end the if, right? So if user dot is authenticated. So here we are saying if user dot is authenticated, right? So for every Django template, this user template variable is passed in, right? Then dot is authenticated is checking if is this, that's you are trying to say, is this user authenticated, right? So if this user is authenticated, what do we want to have? We want to have, let's say this would be create book, right? We'll have create book, then we'll have list book, list books, right? Then we have let's say logout. So right, so we are saying if this user is authenticated, let's have this. Then let's add an else statement. Let's say else, that if the user is not authenticated, of course you are either authenticated or you are not authenticated, right? So else, if the user is not authenticated, we want to have something like login, right? After login, we now have sign up, right? So let's go back to our template, refresh, fingers crossed. So right now you can see that the user is authenticated, because obviously in the last tutorial we created a user and we logged in. Let me remove this disabled here. The disabled, let's remove this, right? So let's remove this, let's go back and refresh. So you can see right now that the user is authenticated. So we have this create book, list books, and logout. So but right now they are not doing anything, right? Let's just real quick, let's just add the href target to these ones, the ones we have. So if we go to our URLs, you have this create book part right here. We have this create book and list book part right here. We have sign up and we have login, right? So if this is the important, I don't know if I've talked about this in this playlist, right? So, but in our parts we have been adding this part name, right? We have been adding this part name. Now this is where the part name becomes important. If we copy this part name, let's copy this part name, go back to our template. If we come here, what we copy this is create book, right? We copied create book part name. If we come here and say in this href and say, right, let me remove this and say URL paste part name this, right? So what are we doing here? We're saying, what we're trying to do here is that we are trying to output a part name in our template. We are trying to output a part name, a part here whose name is create book, right? So when Django sees this syntax right here, sees this template function syntax right here, ginger template function syntax right here, and it sees URL, right? Then the value of this URL should be create book. It goes to our urls.py, looks for a part whose name is create book, right? It comes here, finds the create book, and it declares the URL part right here, right? So that's why if we should refresh here and click on this create book, you can see it's taking us to a part where we can create book, right? So awesome. So let's implement that for other parts. So we have create book here. Let's add this for list book. So list book, we say, let's remove this and say URL list book, right? So we have create book here, we have added for create book, we have added for list book, then remaining the logout, right? So let's implement the logout. So just like in the last tutorial, let me close this here. Just like in the last tutorial, we talked about the Django views, the Django authentication framework views, right? And we use the login view right here. So it's only fitting that we also have what? We have a logout view, right? So we'll have a logout view here. So if we come back here, and add path, we say logout, right? Logout, if I can spell correctly, logout, and we add logout dot as view. Just like I said in the last tutorial, because this is a class-based view, let's inspect and agree that this is a class-based, because this is a class-based view right here. This is a class-based view right here. We need this dot as view, right? Because it's not a function, so we need this dot as view. So let's add the name here. The name is logout, very fitting. So logout, then we come here, add the URL part. We say the URL part is URL, the name is logout, right? Now awesome, let's go back and refresh. So if we come here, we have the create book, I have the list books, then we have the logout, right? So let's click on the logout, fingers crossed, and see what happens. right? You can see right here it's saying you are logged out, right? And it's saying you are logged out, so you have successfully logged out of your application, right? But you can see that it's redirecting us to this place. So just like the login name, if you go to settings.py, just like the login name where you have login redirect URL, you can also have the logout redirect URL, right? So this is the URL part where you want, after successfully logging out the user, this is the URL part where you want Django to redirect you to, right? So which URL do we want? Let's say redirect us to the login URL, right? So after logging out the user, redirect them to the login URL if they want to log in again. So let's paste this here, right? So if we go back and try to log in again, let's go to login, right? So our username, if you can remember, and again guys, you can see right here that in our navigation bar, you can see that we now have login and sign in, right? We now have login and sign in. We no longer have create book, list book, and logout, because right now our user has been logged out of the application, right? So let's also add this URL part real quick so that we can test it and continue. So let's add this URL part. So for this we have logout. For this we have URL logout. So for the sign up, let me see what we named our sign up URL part. What did we name it? We named this sign up. Very fitting also. So we can come here and say URL sign up, right? So we'll go here, refresh again. We have this. We have the login page, sign up page. This is the sign up page. This is the login page, right? So let's change the name of this our application, right? We'll change it to bookseller, right? Because that's what we are naming our book. That's what we are naming our application, right? Very awesome and original, bookseller, right? Bookseller. Then the URL part should be, let's say, slash. If we click on this, it should take us to the home page, right? So if we click on this, it takes us to the home page. Let's go back to the login, right? So let's log in real quick. Hezekiah 1, if you can remember from the last tutorial, users 1 2 3, right? So let's log in. So we are logged in right now. So let's click on logout again. So if you click on logout, you can see it's redirecting us to this login. Why is it redirecting us to the login instead of what we saw before? It's because we have this setting here. We said logout redirect URL, right? So after successfully logging you out, it redirects you to this URL part right here, right? So thinking about it, if we okay, we are logged out right here. Let's simply add an anchor tag right here that says something like I already have an account, so that when you click on that, you go to sign up. Then when you go to sign up, you have something like well, when you are in the login, you have something like I don't have an account already. When you click on it and go to the sign up, you have something like I already have an account, so that I can basically how login forms work generally in web applications, right? So if we come here, if we go to the sign up page, let's go to the bottom. Outside of the form here, we say let's add this in another div. We say let's add a little bit of margin, bootstrap margin. Class is margin top, or margin generally margin 4, right? So we come here and add an anchor tag. The anchor, we discuss where it will go later. We say I already have an account, right? So where would this go? This should go to the login page. So URL login, right? So if we go to the sign up, do the same thing. Let's copy this, do the same thing real quick. So let's copy this, go to the login. After the form, we add this and say I don't have an account. I do not have an account. Where would this go? This will go to the sign up, right? So basically how an application works, how web application works, So we have this. If we go down, you can see I already have an account. If you click on this, it takes you to this page. If you click on this, I do not have an account. If you click on this, it takes you to the sign up, right? So let's try and log in again. Let's say we come into our application, we say login, right? Or we create an account. Let's create an account here. Then when we try to create an account, we say our username is user123, right? Our password is new password 123, then new password 123, right? Let's sign up. So user was created successfully. Let's go to the login page. Our username was user123, right? Our password should be new password 123, right? If I'm correct, I can remember and I didn't make a mistake. Hopefully it logs us in. So you can see we are logged in here correctly, right? So for most our tutorial codes, right, I'll be pushing it to this GitHub repository, right? This GitHub repository, YouTube complete my GitHub repository, YouTube complete Django beginner playlist, right? I'll leave a link to it in the description. So if you come to this repository, right, if you come here to the branches, you get a list of branches. Now in these branches, for if you want to maybe look at the code for the URLs and views tutorial, you come here and click on the branch. If you want to look at the code for models and database and what have you, you come here and click on the branch. You can then maybe download the zip code or git clone it, right? So that's it for this correctly, right? So this will be it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be looking at how to make sure, how to secure, and you can see right now that if we copy this endpoint here, if we copy this URL here and click on logout, right? If we log out right now we are logged out, but if we go back, go to this URL, you can see we are still able to access this URL, right? So in the next tutorial, we'll be looking at how to secure an endpoint in Django, make sure that it's only accessible to people that are logged in, right? Then we'll be looking at how to only retrieve books that are created by a particular user, right? So we don't want the user to be able to see all the books in our database. We only want them to be able to see only the books created by that particular user, right? So that will be it for this tutorial, guys. Turn off the notifications, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video, like, all the good stuff. So have a nice day. Peace.